Have you ever found yourself lying on the couch, absolutely paralyzed by the simple thought of getting up and doing something you know you should do? Maybe it's finishing that project for work, writing that paper for school, or even just folding the laundry before guests arrive. You feel the seconds ticking by, the mounting urgency pressing on your chest, but your body gets heavier, not lighter. Your mind races. You tell yourself you've got to do it, you need to do it. Time is slipping away. Yet, ironically, the more you try to force yourself, the less likely you are to move at all. What if I told you science actually proves that when it comes to motivation, you can never force yourself, and you've been going about it all wrong? If you want more breakthrough science-backed ideas to unlock your growth mindset, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so the Growth Mindset Project can keep you moving forward every single week. Let's dig deeper into this phenomenon, because if you've ever experienced what I just described, you're far from alone. The mistake is thinking that this is something fundamentally wrong or broken inside you, that you're uniquely lazy or flawed or lack discipline. But in fact, your failure to brute force your way into productivity is a feature of your natural brain wiring, not a bug. Let's imagine that ominous inner narrator. At first, it's gentle, it encourages. Come on, let's get started. As time ticks by, your thoughts turn from encouraging to urging to nagging to outright bullying. Get off your butt now. If you don't do the laundry this instant, you're proving you're a worthless failure. Everyone will judge you. You'll let them down, again. This crescendo of self-pressure feels inescapable. The louder your inner voice shouts, the deeper into the couch you seem to sink. But why? Here's what's really happening. Your brain, and specifically a part called the midbrain, is reacting to stress exactly as it evolved to. Motivation, emotion, and your fight or flight response all originate here. And contrary to what we wish, your midbrain doesn't respond to logical arguments, grand plans, or even the calendar clock ticking down. In fact, it processes stress with a simple, primitive logic, similar to how a toddler or even a dog reacts. The more urgent, high stakes, or overwhelming a task feels, the more your brain interprets it as a threat. Not a literal lion-in-the-bushes threat, but a threat to your sense of self-worth, your social standing, or your emotional safety. And when something feels dangerous, your biology pulls out what it knows best: resist, protest, freeze, or run away. Psychologists call this the curvilinear response to stress. Basically, there's a sweet spot where caring just enough creates motivation to act, but caring either too little or too much pushes you into a productivity dead zone. At just the right level of concern, our brains are energized, focused, and effective. But when the stress bar cranks too high, our brain's survival mode kicks in. What this means is, the very effort to force yourself actually triggers your resistance response. All your energy is now battling yourself, not making progress. If any of this is ringing familiar bells for you, hit like right now so I know I'm not the only one who's felt this. And drop a comment with your toughest "I just can't force myself" moments. I'd love to see what comes up for our community. So, what's really going on when you reach that point where no amount of yelling at yourself works? It's not that you don't care, it's that you care so much, the pressure triggers your fight or flight. The more you internalize shame, fear, and harsh judgments about the stakes of completing a task, the more your productivity tanks. This isn't just theory. In organizational psychology, it's represented by the Yerkes-Dodson Law, which maps stress against performance in the shape of an upside-down U. At low stress, you're unmotivated. At moderate stress, you're in the zone. But take it too far, and productivity crashes right back to zero because your brain feels threatened instead of motivated. Let's make this concrete. Ever told yourself, "It's just laundry"? Why does it feel so impossible? Logically, you know it's not life or death. But if you associate failing at laundry with deep negative beliefs about yourself, "If I don't do this, I'm a terrible partner. No one will respect me. I always mess up," then your brain actually codes this small task as something much bigger and scarier. That's why you can never force yourself productively when the stakes feel so incredibly high. This all means that your productivity blocks don't always trace back to laziness or lack of caring. Sometimes you're just paralyzed by caring too much, and often, especially for people with mental health challenges like anxiety or mood disorders, almost everything feels like life or death pressure. That's not a failing. It's an overactive midbrain doing its anxious job a little too well. So how do you escape the trap? Here's the science-backed truth. The way out is not to crank up the pressure. Paradoxically, the way to make yourself more motivated, productive, and successful is to lower the pressure, dial down those do-or-die feelings, and give yourself more room to breathe. Not by abandoning tasks, but by shrinking expectations to a manageable size. This might mean setting the bar lower on your to-do list, deciding that good enough is, in fact, good enough, or reminding yourself that today's job performance or one missed deadline doesn't define your entire worth as a person. That pile of laundry does not have the power to determine who you are. Think of it like trying to fall asleep on those stressful nights. The more you tell yourself you must sleep, the more stressed you get, and the more impossible sleep becomes. Only once you stop forcing, step back, and give your mind a rest, does your body finally let go and drift off. Productivity works the same way. You can never force yourself. You must create the right environment. Make the task welcoming, not punishing. If this resonates, take a moment. Mike's need ice. Like and subscribe so you don't miss more content on mastering motivation and mindset. Drop your tips and challenges below. I read them all. So next time you start trying to force yourself, remember, instead of pushing harder, ask why you're struggling. Is it because you care too little, or, more likely, do you avoid too much? If you're already feeling maxed out, adding more pressure won't give you a breakthrough. Step back, soften the stakes, shrink the task. Remind yourself, it really isn't life or death. Of course, the challenge grows when the pressure isn't all coming from inside you. Sometimes expectations and stress are heaped on us by others, bosses, family, society. Here, you have to remember that only you can really judge how much is too much. Friends and colleagues can't read your stress levels, and they're likely wrestling with their own. You can explain the science to them, but your job is to self-regulate as best you can. Find that sweet spot for yourself, even if those around you are pushing for more. And don't forget, we tend to do this to each other too. We often assume the best way to motivate someone else is to make them care more. But if someone is struggling, consider helping them lower the pressure instead. Tell a friend, partner, or coworker, "It's okay, you don't have to do it all right now." You never know when that bit of grace might be exactly what they need. So next time you hit that wall and wonder why you can never force yourself, remember, the science says it's not about discipline or willpower or pushing to the brink. It's about balancing stress, finding your why, lowering the stakes, and creating space to act, not pushing harder. That's how you outsmart your ancient wiring and get things done. If you got value from this, check out our next video on the Growth Mindset Project and ring that bell for more real talk grounded in science and compassion. Thanks for joining, and I'll see you in the next one.